Okay, everyone, welcome to the February NSO monthly meeting. Tonight, we're going to talk mostly about high school officiating and high school aged games and referee abuse. So there's our agenda. Please, as we go, if you have questions, you can be polite and raise your hand, but I don't know that a lot of you are always polite, so just speak up and ask your questions. So first, I just want to remind everybody in regards to Arbiter, make sure you go in and get your blocks updated. Otherwise, you'll receive more text from me potentially. For self-assign on the NSO group, we release games 30 days in advance. I'm going to caveat that, and that's Arbiter's 30 days in advance. And I'm still not quite understanding why some games get released earlier than other games when they're both on the same date, like being February 24th. So just be patient. They are getting released eventually. And then match reports, make sure that you're getting your match reports done the day of the game. So that way I'm not having to chase you down to get those reports taken care of. Just want to remind everybody in regards to players' equipment. It is the coach's responsibility to make sure that players are properly and legally equipped. If that is not the case, you do have the option to caution the coach for the first time you have an equipment issue. But I always encourage you to be proactive and take care of the problem without having to caution the coach. Make sure that the equipment is safe. There is a 2-page document on the WOA Central Hub on the soccer tab that explains to you what is the modifications for high school rules. Then lastly, the home team does wear the dark color. We will talk a little bit more about shin guards later on in this presentation to get us all on the same page in regards to shin guards. Emphasis has been with the high school around sportsmanship and looking at the code of conduct. Also, the harassment and discrimination process, and we'll walk through that tonight as well. And then you do have the WIAA sportsmanship survey that we encourage you to complete after your matches in regards to the coaches, participants, spectators, etc. If you're giving people fives, they better be giving you good snacks and treating you well. If you are giving a 0, then make sure you're reaching out to the assigners in regards to what the issues are so we can follow up. So here's the code of conduct for our officials. I know that all of you adhere to this code and do an outstanding job. Remember that it is our responsibility to keep the game safe, and we need to introduce ourselves before the contest with the coaches, etc. And we need to provide a good officiating job, so we're ready to shake hands with the participants after the game as well. Here's the code of conduct in regards to coaches. I don't think any of you will be surprised in regards to what they should be adhering to as well. Remember, all of us have times in which we may have emotional outbursts, and those are okay. But when they are carrying on and on about an issue, let's take care of it in a nice professional way and get them redirected to coaching their players and not us as officials. And then the code of conduct for participants. Again, want to make sure that we recognize that players can often also have outbursts, emotional outbursts in regards to decisions we make. They often could have a different angle and maybe saw the play better than we did. But let's give them a little grace in regards to those emotional outbursts and take the feedback. But then we need to deal with it if they aren't able to move on and or it's offensive against the referee crew or the opponent. Spectators, I know you'll all be surprised that they should stay off the playing area at all times, but we seem to be finding spectators wandering their way onto fields more often lately. Luckily, with high school, at least the varsity games, most of them are up in the stands, and it makes it a little bit harder for them to get to the field. Again, they're wanting them to participate by cheering for the participants and not yelling and screaming at the officials, coaches, or the participants. And then administration also has their code that they should be following, and they are there to support us during the discrimination harassment processes if they occur in our game. Any questions about the code of conduct? Okay, then let's jump into the discriminatory harassing behavior. So this has been part of the high school game for a couple years now, I want to say. We've also seen the Elite Academy take on this process as well. And so any of you doing the Elite Academy games, you know that this is part of what is expected of us as officials. Unfortunately, we're seeing this type of behavior in our league games as well now. And I encourage you that as we walk through this tonight, to be thinking about how we should be implementing these processes in our league games on the weekend as well to stomp this part of out of our game. So any derogatory, harassing cheers, chants, or slurs that are directed toward teams or individual participants. This could be hateful comments of any nature, and it's relative to these 5 different items. And it's on the court, field interactions between a coach, official, participants, crowd that are derogatory in nature, and it's personal, directed, and provocative comments, and we will not tolerate them. So here's actually a slide out of the Elite Academy referee handbook. Just thought this is a great way. People ask what type of things fit into this category. So here's a example of words that if we hear on our pitch, we need to be dealing with. If we have coaches or players approaching us in regards to comments being made with these words, this is going to fit within the process. So you as officials all know that it's our responsibility to take care of this if we hear of this on our own, and that we must deal with it immediately. And we need to deal with it in kind of 2 ways. One, we need to follow the protocol here, in which we need to stop the game. We need to provide the appropriate sanction to the player who you heard use the discriminatory harassing behavior. But then we need to go and let the coaches know in regards to what has occurred so that they can talk to their players. And we need to alert the school administrator so that they are aware of what's happening. And then after the game, make sure that you're reaching out and letting Ryan know. If we get it reported to us by a official coach or student, again, we're going to follow the same process we just talked about, stopping the game, talking to the coaches, letting the coaches follow up with their teams, and letting the management at the site know what has occurred, and then again reporting it to Ryan after the game. If somebody by a event management student or coach, again, we follow the same protocol that we've already walked ourselves through. Then if we have additional occurrences of the issue repeating itself, it is not our responsibility to decide that the game needs to be ended. It is the game management decision to end the contest if they feel that what is occurring needs to cause the event to come to an end. So, what questions does everybody have in regards to the harassment, discriminatory procedures for high school games, and or how maybe you may need to implement this for your youth games? Ivan?
Hi. Yeah, I have a question though. Is there there is a red card if I hear the word that they are saying from
Yep.
So there's a direct red card, right?
Direct red card.
Okay. Because yesterday in one of my games, it was interesting. One of the players came to me at halftime and said, "I am hearing the R word saying to me from one player." So I didn't hear it. I went to talk to both coaches and said, if I hear it, it will be a direct red card. And then the coach came to me and said, well, if you hear it or if they tell you, if they are saying to you, because they are two things, and he put me in a position where he said, if you're not hearing it, then how can you tell that it's true?
Yeah. No, you handled it perfectly right, Ivan, is that you went and addressed it to the coaches and said, hey, this has been reported to me. I need it to knock it off in my game. But if you would have heard it directly, then you could have issued that misconduct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Richard, we might have somebody in the waiting room. I don't know.
Yeah, this is my my dislike of what thank you. Well,
yeah, Richard, I got, this is Chris Sparrows. Can you just, I don't know if I heard that one of the last points that you made, that it's up to somebody else if the game is going to be the game official or the game management, if the game is going to be abandoned. Is that changing the laws of the game standard of the authority that the referee has to abandon a match, or is that amplifying it in some way? And I just missed the distinction there. Can you just review that for me?
Yeah, no, good question, Chris. So you're absolutely right. In the laws of the game, we have the ability to abandon matches. In regards to the discriminatory, harassing process for high school, we follow their protocol in stopping the game, addressing the issue with misconduct. If we heard it, if it was reported to us, we're going to report it to the coaches so the coaches can talk to their staff. We're going to let game management know of the incident, and then we're going to restart the game. If it happens enough times and game management says, hey, Richard, I'm done. We've warned them 5 times and nobody seems to be cleaning up their behavior. I want you to end the contest. We then would end the contest. If we have a contest, especially on the our league games where we have a game that's gotten out of control and is no longer safe, we would then abandon a game in that fashion. Does that help, Chris?
It does. Thank you very much.
Yep. What other questions?
Yeah, I got a quick one. Does the clock stop when we do this?
Yes, we should be adding time when we are dealing with this protocol as long as appropriate. If we have a very lopsided game and maybe the lopsided part of our game is causing some of this misbehavior, then I would probably be adding a lot less stoppage time than if I have a game that is close and this is just a distraction.
Thanks.
Hey, Jeremy, I gave you co-host if you want to try to help me manage the participants.
Okay. Yeah, there's a bunch in there. Ha!
Yeah, it's not showing me them anymore. Oh, yeah. Okay, any other questions about the protocol?
I have a question, Richard. Where does body shaming fall under?
I'm going to go with that. It is still fits into the discriminatory harassing behavior.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I appreciate all the questions. And if you have more, don't hesitate to reach out about it. Next thing on our high school portion is the officials body worn cameras. So I believe, Ryan, you have 4 body worn cameras that WOA would like us to wear in our high school games for the spring season. And you are looking for volunteers so you can get the cameras out to them and they can start wearing them.
Yeah, I'd like to get them out this weekend so that you guys have them for the duration of the season. So,
And Ryan, the expectation of them is to wear them at each of their games.
yes,
They only start and stop them when they have issues in which they feel that there's going to the camera may be of assistance, not the whole game, right?
correct. Yep.
Yeah. So anytime we have to stop the game or the game stopped and we're having to deal with misbehavior by players or coaches or spectators, that would be a great time to turn it on and then turn it off once you start the game up again, right?
Yep.
How often do I have to download my my recordings if I was to volunteer?
I'd be after each of your games.
Okay.
You'd want to connect it back up.
And they'll get some type of training on how to do this, right?
Yep. We have instructions and things for them to follow. Yep.
So WOA's been doing this in all of their different sports across the state. It's been a great tool to be able to help educate our officials, our coaching staff, and our participants in regards to what's not acceptable behavior and maybe what is acceptable behavior. So if you're interested in wearing a camera for the season, please reach out to Ryan. And if we don't get any volunteers, we'll be reaching out to people to do it. Anybody have questions about cameras?
This isn't just like yellow card process, red card process. This is like the things that we were talking about in terms of earlier harassment and such, right?
Yellow card, red card processes would be good times to hit the button.
Okay.
Because that will usually result in those types of situations sometimes.
Okay.
So yeah.
Thank you.
Richard, there's a question in chat.
Thanks, Ed.
Who has access to the recordings?
Yes, that is just WOA.
Yeah.
And no, Justin, we don't get to use the body cam footage for VAR.
So that's a missed opportunity, but I'll let it slide. I have a question regarding when you press the button, does it only start recording once the button's pressed, or is it keeping like a running recording where it captures like the last 30 seconds like a dash camera would?
Yes,
That's a good question.
it captures it backs up 30
10
seconds.
seconds, 30 seconds. Okay, I think it was 30 or 10.
Yeah, that's great to know.
Yeah.
Hey, we thought we would hit a little bit on the equipment because I think most of you have all started to see the mini shin guards that most of our players are, or at least most of our male players seem to be wearing. And so I want to just get us all on the same page tonight to make sure that we have consistency out there on the pitch. Again, that's the biggest feedback that we get from the coaches for high school sports is consistency, and they really like it when they can see consistency from official to official. But we all know that some of us have different officiating styles, and if we can go out there and provide them at least a 80-minute consistent performance, they appreciate that as well, because the players and coaches can quickly catch on to what it is the expectations are for your match that night. So here's in the spirit of trying to help us get consistency across all of our officials so that each time our coaches are going to have the same experience with this, because coaches are ultimately responsible for the players' equipment and making sure that they have safe and proper equipment on. And it's very easy. So here's the players' equipment, Law 4 modification under WIAA. Here is further information in regards to shin guards. Now, this is not something that's new. This has been in the WIAA modifications of the rules since WIAA adopted the laws of the game instead of going under NCAF, if I have the initials correct. But this is not an item that any of us out there have been going and asking athletes to pull down their socks so we can see the NOCSAE seal on the shin guards. And so in no way should we start to ask for NOCSA on the shin guards. Again, our job is what?
To make sure that they have
to deal with it.
Sorry.
I heard Jeff, you said what?
Let the coaches deal with it.
Let the coaches deal with it. Ivan, what were you going to say?
To ensure that they have machine guards, right?
So we're just going to ask the coaches if their players are properly equipped for the game.
Yeah.
So in our 3 questions that we should always be asking our coaches prior to our match, are the players properly equipped? If you want to emphasize and shin guards, you can. But asking them if they're properly equipped should take care of it. That will keep you insured on your match, because the coach is now responsible for that responsibility. Why do we want to ask them if they have an athletic trainer on site?
Case of injury.
Head injuries?
Yep. So if we have a head injury, we can send them to the trainer, let the trainer decide whether or not they're cleared and can come back onto our field. So we don't have to deal with that whole head injury item. Most of the games have athletic trainers, and or even the JV games, somebody seems to know where an athletic trainer may be close by to assist with that. So let's make sure we know whether or not we have an athletic trainer before the game. And then why is it that we're going to ask who their school administrator is for the game?
Because we want to know who's going to help us abandon the match if we need it.
So we want to know who we're going to go to and report about our harassing, discriminatory behavior that has been witnessed on our game. Any questions about those three questions?
And a question about the quality or the size of the shin guards. So I saw a couple of students that they have like gird size shin guards, and they say, yeah, it's a shin guard.
Yeah.
Should we care about that, or should we say that's not appropriate?
So I'm going to answer you in two ways, Ivan. On our youth games, it is not our responsibility of whether that shin guard properly covers their shin or if it's a size of a credit card that's going to give them very little to no protection. That is not our problem. That's their problem because they have a shin guard. If we have shin guards falling onto our pitch in a high school game that are of a credit card size, now we've kind of got our hands tied because that definitely isn't going to be stamped with that seal of approval of those initials. What is somebody going to do when that credit size shin guard falls onto the pitch?
I will check if it has the seal of the seal that you mentioned.
Say that again, Ivan.
I will check if it has the seal. The what's that?
The seal?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you the credit size shin guard is not going to have the seal on it.
Yeah, but that will give us the
Go ahead, Ryan.
So my advice to all of you is to just turn and look at the coach and say, hey, it looks like this player may or may not have a shin guard that's going to meet the criteria of NFHS as prescribed by WOA. Could you please take care of this player and send them to the sideline and let the coach deal with it? And if it's not a certified shin guard, they will not send the player back on, or they will go find a new pair of shin guards for the player.
When can that player re-enter the game?
Stoppage and your permission.
Correct. Stoppage and with permission of the referee. So don't let them come flying back onto your pitch because we only allow players to fly back onto our pitches if they had to step off because of an injury.
Does the coach get cautioned for that shin guard?
I know I'm not going to caution him.
By letter of the law, yes, but manage your game is what we've been saying.
They get to play potentially with a down player, unless they have somebody ready to run onto the field and substitute for them, and you allow it. But I would encourage us to manage it and save those cautions for when we need them.
Hey, Richard.
Yep.
So, black and white, technically speaking, you see a player, socks are pulled all the way down. You know that they're not high school legal shin guards. You deal with it. You do not show the card to the coach. Is the game protestable?
That's the fun part. I get to let the league worry about that component. And if the coach loses a protest because he didn't have his players properly equipped, that will be the coach's loss.
So is that a yes or a no?
I would say yes, it is protestable.
Okay.
I think I know Dave's on this call too. I think that we are going to make sure we get out to the coaches because I think Brian's brought up a perfect example that we all see now with these mini shin guards that we have a sock that goes only maybe to the bottom of the calf and the rest of the shin is exposed even from the socks. And we're going to encourage them all that us being able to see somebody's shin is probably going to cause a problem with the equipment question and the coaches needing to deal with it. What I think the biggest part for me is I don't want us to be the shin guard police. And so I think we've got to appropriately deal with it without doing a inspection and having players line up prior to the game and show us their shin guards.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Basically, we're looking for those mini shin guards, right?
Say that again, Hudson.
We're looking for those very small shin guards.
I don't want us looking for them.
Right, because if we didn't check at the start of a game, why should we send a player out if you see it afterward?
So Hudson, I think what we're trying to do is mitigate the problem by asking the coach if they've properly equipped their players. And if they've answered yes, you're absolutely right. We've fulfilled our obligations. If we end up with a player because we all know shin guards fall out of socks,
right,
and it's not an appropriate size, us turning the other way kind of eats away at our integrity of the players who have appropriate shin guards.
Right.
So I think Ryan saying, "Hey, coach, your guy doesn't have the right shin guard on here. It needs to get fixed." We can maintain our integrity without having to be the shin guard police.
Okay.
More than one occasion, I've had the opposing coach ask about a player on the field's shin guards, and then I'll ask the player, "Do you have shin guards?" And they'll say yes. So yeah, this is after starting the match, having asked the coach, "Are your players properly equipped?"
Yeah, this is why I'm confused, because sometimes during games, you can see that shin guards through the socks, and you see that it's very small. Should we ask the coach to fix it? Before we can, what do we do in this case?
Hudson, you've got a sock that's going covering the shin. You've asked the coach if they're properly equipped. I would not be seeing any small shin guards when I'm looking at players' shins.
Okay.
Now I'm really confused myself. Many people these days, including my son, they have this really small, as somebody else mentioned, shin guards. Are you saying they are okay so long they cover parts of the shin, or if we feel they're too small, we just refer back to the coach and say, "Hey, listen, looks like too small. We need different ones." What's the kind of like common sense action here?
Hey, Richard.
Yeah, Brian.
These are too small. We're in Las Vegas this weekend.
This pop-up that you just put up on the screen, it's missing some important language.
Oh. Well, this is what I copied right off of the WOA document.
Right, but what I hear you say, Richard, you should not check on this certification. That's beyond, or the specification does not say specification, right? But what if they're really, really small, and or if you're not sure, what do we do then?
If we're not sure, we shouldn't be doing anything. And the only time that we're going to know that they're small is if they fall out of their sock.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to. Or when that sock is pulled all the way down, only covering a couple inches of it. So WOA is saying they don't want you to inspect the shin guards before the game for the particular seal. It's saying reasonable and adequate protection. WOA is also wanting each and every official to say to the coach before the game, please make sure your players are properly equipped. and that includes the jewelry part of it. However, when a situation presents itself, we are to be dealing with it. And you can define that as you wish. There's going to be people looking for it. There's going to be some people not looking for it. But if it presents itself to the official, they're supposed to deal with it.
And is Todd asking for a caution to the coach? Is that part of dealing with it, or is it just?
It's not Todd asking.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and this is Brian answering technically correct because I know what black and white says, and I know what other things say. All officials should be reading that language and doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right. So maybe bring this to a closure. As we said before, always ask before the game if the coaches have them properly equipped. If for any reason during the game you find that you think a player is not properly equipped, you need to address it immediately. Whether you decide to caution the coach and send the player off the field to go deal with it. I'm not going to tell people how to manage their games, but you need to address it and you need to make sure it's corrected and then get on with your game.
Hey, Amy, I see you got your hand raised.
Yeah, for example, if a player had earrings on and I saw that, do I like wait till the earrings fall off, or do I like ask the coach about that?
I usually send players off the field to fix their equipment at the next stoppage.
Okay, so like the waiting till they fall off is only for shin guards, and for other problems we can address them immediately. All right, thank you.
Yeah, right. Yep. Okay. Any other questions?
Shin guards.
Any other questions on the high school rules around the shin guards conundrum?
I don't have anything on the shin guards, but since the earrings were brought up, can we encourage consistency of not allowing band-aids or tape or anything over the ears unless it's for something other than to cover up jewelry?
Yes, that's what we should all be enforcing, since the laws of the game do not allow tape to cover jewelry. Thank you, Corey. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes, Chris.
That was a very painful question on shin guards, but I think what just to close to help other people here. There's a comment made in the chat box I think is very enlightening, right? We're not following the yellow card to the coach after they've already told you that they're properly equipped. We're following laws of the game from FIFA. So that's where that distinction comes in, and where your guidance, I think, then is about how we manage that specifically in contrast to high school rules. And that makes complete sense to me. So I just thought I'd provide that comment, and I'm sorry that I even brought up shin guards again.
It's okay, Chris. It helped to bring hopefully clarity for more people. Okay, I'm going to keep us moving so we get done here in time. I just want to remind everyone on the call, we have personal responsibility in our officiating based on our appearance, on how we show up to the field, how we tuck our shirts in and have our socks pulled up, being professional with those that we're interacting with, keeping our fitness up so that way we can be close to the play in whatever decisions we're making, whether we're in the center or being an assistant referee. And your schedule. There are 215 people registered to do high school games for NSO. We've got some 1,000 referees that do games off of the Ridgestar NSO site for youth games, and the 13 assigners on the Ridgestar site, and Ryan and I cannot manage all those officials' schedules. And so we need you to make sure you're paying attention to picking up games when you're available, because I don't want to hear the night before of, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I had picked up a game and I have this other responsibility now. So we need you to manage your schedule. And then seize opportunities during the high school season, and even during the weekend league games. You'll get opportunities to officiate at levels that you aren't able to self-assign to. And when you get offered those, I encourage you to seize them. That's how you challenge yourself and become a better referee and get those higher rankings. So this is Richard's and Ryan's advice for a successful boys high school season. As many have heard from more than just the two of us, call the simple fouls, punish bad soccer with misconducts. If you've got a reckless tackle, punish it with the foul and the yellow card for the reckless tackle. Because if you permit that reckless tackle, you're going to promote a worse reckless tackle on the next challenge. Don't take unnecessary risk. Do those in your I don't know, something game, but not on the boys high school season. Keep the game simple. Look at that. We're using simple in two of our pieces of advice here. And then don't leave the site until you've completed your match report. Like, especially for varsity games, ARs, make sure your centers are getting their match reports in so you get your full amount of money for the match that you just did. That's how Ryan and Richard, our advice for your success. I know Dave Augustavo's on the call tonight as well, as always, here to help make high school soccer in Washington successful. Just like I talked earlier about having a consistent product for our schools amongst our officials that do NSO games, Dave and I are always trying to work with making sure we have consistency in the whole Puget Sound area. And so Dave's here listening tonight so he can help support what we're talking about. But Dave, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about what advice you would give our officials in their success for this coming season. And for those of you that are new to high school officiating, Dave pretty much assigns all games north of the South King County NSO group. And if you work in those areas or you find yourselves in those areas often, he would be happy. I'd be happy to connect you with him. And so you can get signed up for his group and help him out in getting games covered if those are more convenient with your schedule. But with that, Dave, what words of advice you got for us tonight?
So I have a couple things for you. Thanks, Richard, Ryan, for putting this together and delivering drab info to everybody. Brian Arms gives you great insights. I'm going to touch your shin guard thing for a minute. Get ahead of stuff and deal with the stuff you have to deal with. If you don't, at some point, something's going to get screwy. And I think maybe at the beginning of the game in Stordahl, when I asked him about this, he said, are your players properly equipped, which includes shin guards? If you highlight that at some point, it's going to take care of itself. How you deal with it, I don't go looking for trouble, but if you can see stuff, you got to take care of it. You've got to take care of it. Plain and simple. The other thing is the site administrators, their job isn't just to deal with harassment, it's to deal with fan behavior and anything else. Your job is to ref the game. Your job is to keep your mouth shut and just do your job. I don't know what other questions you have. You guys, we in the state from Whatcom all the way over there. I don't know how many assigners there are. we all want you doing games. We all want you delivering a fair, consistent product with your personality, and getting the game right and making the experience right for high school kids, but not ignoring the stuff you're supposed to take care of. Any questions?
Thank you, Dave. And then Brian Arms is actually our soccer representative on the WIAA board, I believe. Is that right, Brian? Dave's shaking his head yes. Maybe Brian signed off. But I appreciate Brian jumping on tonight and helping us keep again the high school soccer experience consistent for our players, and helping us keep ourselves out of trouble.
Hey, Richard, there's a few items in the chat that could be addressable. There was, going back to equipment, there was a question about retainer jewelry, and so I had to look that up because I'm the slow kid. Body piercing retainer, so like these are things that you put in like silicone or soft things instead of hard things, I think. Penny, correct me if I'm wrong. And would we allow those to be in somebody's body and play the soccer game?
So the key word there is jewelry, and I believe the laws of the game say that there's no jewelry.
Okay, that's what I thought. And is Kinko varsity still doing 2 OT periods? Any other conference specific rules we need to know about?
No.
I don't know.
No. 2-5's golden goal. They've gone away from that, and they went away from it last year.
Yep.
So you go to Kinko, you go to Wesco, and the challenge you run into referees, again, don't go looking for trouble. Many of these games are non-league games. So don't tell them that their overtimes are 2-5's golden goal. Ask them, because many times in regular season, they don't want to play more than the 8 or the non-counters, and throughout the season, they may not want to play more than 80 minutes, but that's their call, not yours.
So ask the coaches what we're playing tonight. That's what I do.
Yeah, and this league, it's 2-5's golden goal. Metro doesn't do it. 1A, Emerald Sound doesn't do it. Most of it has to do with they're using city fields.
Yep, and none of our other conferences do it down south.
And then echoing Joseph's comments, that no federal way had a unique discipline requirement for girls' high school season in fall. Does this still hold true for boys' high school season?
So we do not get involved with their disciplinary procedures. You guys just officiate the games.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And
what does the school do about this? It's not your business.
Yeah, it's not our business. And any questions that come up, you refer them back to the school. You're just reffing the game, giving cards when they need to be given, and move on with your life.
Yes. Do not alter your processes. Remember, punish bad soccer, which means use misconducts. Do not be skipping your misconduct because of a potential issue, or if the players say something to you about, oh, if you give us a yellow card, we got to sit a game. Well, that's their problem. They shouldn't have gotten the yellow card. They shouldn't have had that nasty tackle. We just need to officiate the game, and whatever those consequences are, that's their doing, not ours. Did we hit them all, Jeremy?
Those are, does a religious jewelry must have a waiver still apply for boys season like girls?
Just believe them.
Just believe them?
Yes.
Yeah.
If it's common, I mean, just some common sense. I mean, if it's religious stuff is generally right in front of your face, and you can figure it out. If it's an issue, ask for a letter. It's probably, again, it's looking for trouble. 1 out of 20, you'd need a letter. The rest of them are probably pretty good common sense.
Yeah, so we had one issue last year in the Kent School District and WIA did not approve the exception, and they would have had to produce a letter. So like David said, if it's normal religious jewelry that you're used to seeing, a medical medallion, it's got to be taped up, right? Like all that's very simple. It's how we do every game. If it doesn't look right, it doesn't feel right, and there's no letter, then you don't do it.
Okay. I hear a pause with no hands up. Looks like Jeremy got the chat.
We did.
I have two things just in parting advice, because I get the phone calls during the boys season, and it always starts out nice and quiet, and then it ramps up and it becomes a feverish calls as the season goes on. So I really want to go back to that. You don't have to go back to the slide, Richard, but please, everyone, keep it simple. It's high school boys soccer. Call the fouls. Don't let them try to play through stupid stuff, because that's when I get phone calls with red cards. And so just call the game, keep it safe for them. And the more you do that, the less phone calls I will get, because you'll deal with those situations before they grow into that scenario. The other thing is we have a couple fields now where we're on the field and the fans are on the field. You'll see it maybe at Hazen when they decide to do a game with a local school to kind of change the atmosphere. And so the parents are right there on the sideline. And then we have also been seeing it in the Highline, area at a few of their fields where they don't have stands. And so you just try to make sure, work with that site administrator to back those parents up as much as you possibly can, and make sure you know who the site administrator is before the game. We did have a confrontation last fall with someone who identified themselves as a site administrator when they were acting in the role as a parent, and that created extra work. So make sure before that game starts, you know who that person is, so that that person you're talking to on the sideline does not get to wear that hat during the game or make any comments. They're a fan and a spectator only. So back them up away from the pitch, create the space that you need between the players, the field, and yourself, and then have fun, because it's always a wild and fun atmosphere. So those are the best games to do, actually.
I'll lead the D. I believe you have a question.
I'll try to make it quick. Like I'm in high school right now. I play high school soccer, and one of the biggest issues I see with the referees is that they don't get nearly enough respect. And like every game, it's just a lot of abuse towards them, and it becomes kind of a normal thing. But what I noticed with like the club games, it's not nearly as bad. And I've never been checked in high school, and I never like meet the referee before the game, and they never get to like tell you like, oh, this is how I referee, this is how I should be treated, things like that. So I feel like maybe that might come into play with some of the abuse towards referees. So I'm wondering, like, should like the referees go and give like a quick word to the teams before the game?
I don't recommend that, because the players should know what the expectations are of the referees based on the laws of the game. I think that maybe a good middle ground there is, I know during the coin toss, if the officials, I know some people do provide some perspective in regards to their officiating to the captain, so that they can share that with their teams. But I also encourage us to not be committing to, I'm going to officiate the game this way or that way, because we should have a consistent way in which we officiate it, which is enforcing the laws of the game.
Richard, I think that idea, can I shoot at you here?
Yeah.
I think that young man's idea is brilliant. I don't think you go over and tell them, hey, I'm a player's ref, I'm going to let you play, any of that. But just to humanize it, I think that young man's idea is absolutely brilliant. And if that means a bunch of kids come running up to a ref and say, Richard, we just wanted to meet you today. All they want to know is there a comfortable turf and are you human? But I think that insight is fantastic. And everybody's got a different way of, maybe some of our refs might overstep some things, but I love the idea of whether it's before the game. I also love the idea of hanging around after the game. If somebody's got something to say, then it humanizes the heck out of it, and we want that thing to be right for them. I don't know the right answer, but I love the idea.
Yeah, that's the I hear you. That player check-in process kind of lends itself to where there is a little bit more humanizing of the refs that we don't get in the high school game because we don't check players in.
Yeah.
Hey Ray, good to see you tonight. You have something to add here?
Yes, I'm gonna follow suit. I think that's for personally has worked for me when you shake hands with a coach, when you do the coin toss, introduce yourself and ask the question. Can you I know there's going to be a decision during this game that you're not going to like, and ask them at that point in time when you express yourself, can you do it in a respectful way? So you can ask that before it starts, and that kind of sets a tone. And again, my new mantra is, Ray is who I am, refereeing is what I do, and you don't have the right to treat me like trash. And I think that's what the gentleman, the person who made the comment was talking about, how you're treated. I think you can control how you're treated by drawing a line in the sand with, you know what, you can talk to me. And when the time is right, I'm going to answer you, but at least wait until the time is right to ask the question. And you're setting boundaries. And I don't think that's too much to ask for. So I applaud the thought process as well.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, and maybe because we don't have that opportunity to check them in before the game, but while players are warming up, I'm always talking to players like around the field. Find the opportunities to talk to players, be personable, let them know that you're friendly, approachable, and that will help you in the game. That's just game management. But lining them up for a check-in process, I don't know how we do that, but find ways to identify and establish a relationship before you blow the whistle and you're calling a foul and emotions are hot.
Just want to remind everyone, if you have scheduling issues, I'm the right person to reach out to. If you need some help at the immediate time and I don't answer, then you can reach out to Ryan, and hopefully he'll be available. And as Ryan said, all red card that are issued, you need to call him, and you've got to get it filed that night. We don't wait till the next day, because we've got schools calling us at 8 a.m. wanting to know where the report is so that they can decide what they're doing in regards to the discipline of that send-off. And if you show yellow cards early, that usually prevents red cards having to come out later. So just want to remind everyone, we are entering into about 2.5 months worth of games that are occurring every day of the week between our high school and youth games. Make sure you pace yourself, challenge yourself, reach out to your assigner if you need help. Please don't get hurt. You're no good to any of us if you get hurt, and then you have to sit on the sideline and hear about all the great games that everyone's officiating. And, we're always looking for referees. So as you are out and about, and if you have recommendations to get people started on high school games this next fall, please get that to me. And we're always still looking for refs to officiate our youth games. So if you have friends that would be good at it, please encourage them to join. For those of you who have not become referee advanced yet, there is a class on March 9th. And I encourage you to go onto the WOA or onto the WA referees website. And there's a document on there that says how to become referee advanced and follow that process. You do have to do some online modules prior to the 9th in order to be enrolled on the class on the 9th, which I believe is a Zoom meeting. And so if you're not referee advanced, remember, you get to move up from doing 1A centers to 2A centers by becoming referee advanced, which will give you more opportunities. I believe there might be a fitness test in March, but I did see Wayne Jackson, I think, sneak onto the call this evening. So is Wayne still there and have any info on a fitness test?
Yeah, well, Wayne is still here. I can tell you the date is going to be Sunday, March 23rd at Highline Stadium.
Fantastic.
And we will, we're in the process of just finalizing that clinic. I'll probably put an email blast out later this week, okay? Once I get all the details locked and loaded with the school district and, you know, our certificates of insurance and everything. But they've given me a verbal, March 23rd, 10 a.m.
Fantastic. Thank you, Wayne, for getting that arranged for all of us. As I said, the advanced referee gets you to be able to do 2A centers. And if you go past a fitness test, you can then be able to self-assign to 3A centers. And those ranking increases also work for youth games. So I encourage all of you who are referees for these two opportunities to get out and show that you have the additional knowledge as well as the fitness that the game deserves. NSO did put money aside in their budget this year for mentoring, and we want to be mentoring at all levels. And so any of you who are interested in getting mentored so we can help you advance as a referee, maybe reduce the amount of feedback from the touchlines, we would love to be able to get some mentors out to your game. So feel free to reach out to your signer or me or Jonathan Simmons, who's our director of mentoring, and we'll work on getting mentors on any of your games. It's always good to find those games that will be challenging and get the most out of that mentoring opportunity. Any questions? Okay. I appreciate it. We're about 6 minutes over. I'm just going to take a couple more minutes here. I know there's been some communications out about referee abuse and U.S. Soccer's initiatives to have stronger consequences for referee abuse. I want to remind all of us that we today have tools that we should be using to stomp referee abuse out. Because when we take action, then leagues and other associations can take steps to discipline individuals appropriately. All of you should have received an email from, I believe it was US Soccer or USSSF. And in that, there was actually a video in regards to referee abuse. If you did not watch it, I was going to play it tonight, but since we're running over, I'm going to skip it. I encourage you to watch it. I think it does a very nice job about explaining what referee abuse is and how we need to be, when we identify these things in our games, that we need to be dealing with it. I want to highlight some of the things that Christine Suter sent out in her email on February 14th. If we ever have any type of physical assault that has occurred into our game, we should be abandoning that match. That game is no longer safe if we have referee assault. You need to complete the appropriate documents, which is one being a supplemental report. And then you can go to the wareferees.org website, and on there it will tell you how you need to report those instances to the appropriate authorities. And lastly, if you're not sure how to write the report or need help with that, this email address, you can email there, and Christine will help you out in regards to getting your report written and submitted, so that way it can be dealt with. I encourage all of us that when we are seeing referee abuse, especially verbal through dissent, that we are dealing with that on the pitch, and we have misconducts. And if we have coaches that are yelling at us, we need to tell them that that behavior is unacceptable. And if it continues on, we need to give them a yellow card for dissent and tell them that you will not tolerate it any further in the game. And if it continues on, you need to give them a second yellow card and give them a red card and have them removed from the game. You do not have to put up with that type of behavior. And if you have spectators that are doing the same thing to you, again, we do not have jurisdiction over spectators. So we need to use our coaches and say, Coach, I'm really sorry, but I need you to take care of your parents, because they are abusing the referee crew, and the dissent needs to stop. And if that coach doesn't take care of the problem for you, you need to come back and say, Coach, I warned you about taking care of your spectators. They have not corrected their behavior. I have to issue this yellow card. I really need you to go deal with it, because the next time I come over, because of their behavior, you're the one that's going to have to lead the game, not them. And we need to hold up our end of the bargain here of using those misconducts to stomp this type of behavior out of our games. I'm going to pause and give anybody have any questions or comments about that?
Hi, Richard. I did have one question. If for some reason you need to address the coach for poor behavior and or address the coach because of spectators, do you stop the clock in a high school match?
Yes, we should be providing stoppage time if, again, appropriately, whether it be our high school game or our youth game. If we're stopping the clock to be able to deal with misconducts, then yes, we need to appropriately provide the stoppage time.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Richard, do we ask the coach or the site administrator to help with crowd management?
I'm going to encourage you to go to the coach, because that's probably going to be the easiest person to find. And you can always tell them that they should use their site administrator to take care of the problem for you. I don't want us to be running around the track trying to find the site administrator to deal with a spectator problem.
So a quick question though. I don't know if you watch in the news that incident that happened with the hockey referees here.
Yes, with the youth,
if that will happen,
hockey referees.
Yeah, if that will happen, that's automatic stop of the game, and we call the authorities, right?
Yeah, that game would be abandoned at that point, because that is referee assault.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
There was a request to just do the video for those who wanted to hang out.
Okay, I'm happy to do that. I've also put an exit survey into the chat that I encourage all of you to take a couple minutes, and maybe while I am showing the video, you can go in and do your exit survey, and we want to be able to use this to understand how helpful you may have found this or may not have found it this evening, so we can adjust content, but also any ideas in regards to topics that you would like to see us cover in the future to help you out and your fellow referees in regards to officiating.
Richard, it's taking us to this site can't be reached, at least from when I click on that link.
Is it? So it's always funny because when I did it last night,
Jeremy, I'm able to access it.
You're able to access it? It might be my pop-up thing. Okay. I'll try a different one.
oh, the exit survey was your problem?
Yeah.
Okay.
It worked just fine for me.
Well, let me try this one.
Jeremy's probably just special.
No, I had I got some security going on my PC. I did it on incognito. I'm good. Thank you. My bad.
Okay, so again, thank you everyone for attending tonight. If you want to go, feel free to go. But those that want to watch the video and have any conversation about the referee abuse, feel free to stick around. I'm going to share my screen again. And let's see how I can make this work. Are you guys able to hear it?
We can see it, but I don't hear. There's no audio.
Not yet.
So I hear that you weren't hearing it, correct?
Correct. We cannot hear it.
No audio.
No audio.
Give me
Did you
one-
optimize for your video for playback?
We'll go high definition stereo for the audio. Give you the full experience here. Okay.
Soccer is a beautiful game, full of passion that can bring out the best in it. But when passion crosses the line, it harms the game's integrity and the safety of those who work in service to soccer. Referees are essential to the game, yet they often face situations that threaten their well-being. In our commitment to protect and empower our officials, U.S. Soccer has strengthened its referee abuse prevention policy. The revised policy encourages referees, players, coaches, and spectators to report abuse. Referee abuse is not always physical. Aggressive language and behavior are also forms of abuse. Comments or gestures intended to insult, belittle, or undermine a referee are unacceptable. This behavior results in a minimum 2-game suspension. Abusive language, harassment, intimidation, or threats towards a referee will result in a minimum 4-game suspension. Physical threats or derogatory language, in person or online, result in a minimum 6-game suspension. Discriminatory actions targeting a referee's race, ethnicity, gender, orientation, or other aspects of their identity result in a minimum 10-game suspension. Far too often, referees also endure physical abuse. Outside of a friendly handshake, there is never any reason to touch the referee. Even minor deliberate physical contact, if unwanted, will result in a minimum 3-game suspension. Intentional physical confrontation, like shoving or throwing objects, results in a minimum 10-game suspension. Violent acts, such as physical assault on referees, threaten the safety of everyone involved. These acts can result in a lifetime ban and legal action. Together, we have the power to shape the future of soccer and create a culture of respect where players, coaches, spectators, and referees can enjoy the beautiful game the way it was intended. Be a force for good. Respect the call.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, I just the one thing I want to say, and again, if people want to talk, I'm happy to stick around a little bit longer. We need to handle the situation on the pitch with appropriate misconducts, and we need to then submit our reports so that the leagues can take care of implementing those new punishments. If we as officials don't do our part of this, it's not going to solve the problem. We're not part of the solution at that point. And there's a lot of individuals still on this call that I'm going to put into the classification of adults. And I'm really calling out to all of you to help in solving this problem. If we as adults permit this behavior to go on our pitches, we're just promoting the behavior to occur on our youth officials matches. And so we all have a little bit more of a responsibility here to make sure that we make this better. And we help U.S. Soccer by them stepping up to the plate and increasing the punishments and laying out some really nice, clear guidelines on what's going to be done. So when somebody does this, they're not going to use this excuse that I think a lot of people may have experienced in the past of, well, I just didn't know. I think it's pretty clear. So I just I want all of you to help me be part of this solution and to make soccer better in the U.S.
Yeah, that path, and you talked about it on a couple things. And sorry I was late doing laundry. Knowledge before the game, fitness before the game. I heard you use the term keep it simple, call fouls. We'd be surprised at the root of all of our problems, and believe me, because I watch all these games, when we start not calling fouls and then people get kind of loose out there on the field and they start hitting each other a little bit harder, then that's when we got to start just call simple fouls early in the game, and then they'll start playing the game and then issue the necessary misconduct. And then it just solves the problem. If you just keep it simple and call the fouls that people expect you to call. And that will, to me, if you do those things, the abuse should not take place. And when it does, it's taking place because of, fan is short for fanatic, because they're just being crazy anyway. That parent, that coach already sticks out like a sore thumb. I always, when you go to a game, have you ever noticed the one parent that's sitting off by himself? Because he doesn't want to sit next to the knucklehead. He or she, they don't want to deal with it. They know, every team knows who the knucklehead parent is on their team. And so, but if you're doing your job, don't give them a chance to fuss. That should be the goal. Don't try to ref the perfect game. Ref a game where no one's fussing at you, and that's what you want. And then there's going to be no abuse.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. Okay, everyone. I appreciate your time this evening. Have fun, and we'll see you in a month.
Hey,
Thank you,
Richard, thanks a
everybody.
lot. Fantastic. Way to go. Thanks.
Hey, Richard.